There's been quite a lot of drama.
We appear to be broken down.
There was breakdowns, thefts, and maybe a few booby traps as well, so keep your hands off him. Oh, I've got a fly on my bro. Where's the flies around this time of year? This outrigger here's got a hole in it. Let's take a look. You can decide whether I bought a bit of a lemon here. One morning, guys, and you join me outside at Rusty Nutch HQ, and you will notice that Polestar's still here, but Oscar's gone. Bye, Oscar.
Bye bye.
Yeah, sad times really. He's been a big part of the channel for a long time, and took the decision it was probably time to move him on. But what that does mean is there's a new project on the channel, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. So I think it's fair to say that since purchasing the car, so I've had it for about 4 weeks now, I think a month, something like that, there's been quite a lot of drama. There was breakdowns.
Newly purchased by Daffyd. However, we appear to be broken down.
Thefts, yeah, you name it, it's kind of happened with this car, and I've probably got more stories about this car now than I had about Oscar, which is really odd considering we've owned it for such a short time. But let's take a look. You can decide whether I bought a bit of a lemon here, because a lot of people are telling me that I did. So guys, meet Bob. So Bob has been named Bob by my son. I do think he should be called Percy based on the PRC and the fact that he's green. So if any of you are familiar with Thomas the Tank Engine, you'll know what I'm on about. But Bob is a Series 3 109 wheelbase Land Rover, ex-MOD. So he's got all the little military trinkets. So these little boxes here that contain the wiring for the aerials, and look how cool this is with like the little grommets when you bring the cables out and stuff like that. He's the military Land Rovers sit 2 inches higher due to the way that the spring hangers are formed on these military vehicles. And I'm no expert yet on these cars, but you know, I'm trying to get there. So he's got the 2.25 naturally aspirated petrol engine, and he's just a bit of a beast really. There's a lot to do. Bob is going to be a project car, something for me to really get my teeth into and learn on, whereas Oscar was a little bit more of a, he was a little bit more perfect, I guess, if you like. But the fact is with Bob, you know, his paintwork's terrible, and I can prep that, paint that myself using a roller and a brush, and haven't got to worry about that kind of final finish and being judged, because Land Rovers are essentially agricultural vehicles and they're just fantastic. So inside here there's a few additional security features now added, so if anyone's going to try and nick it, at least you can get a good look at what you're up against now. We've got this, which is a map reading light, which is so cool. It's not on at the minute because the batteries are isolated. But yeah, overall, I think it's going to be a great project to work on. There's a lot of water ingress in these things. And I asked on the Series 3 Facebook group, and apparently my words were, is it normal for it to look like it's been hosed down inside? And a couple of comments said, if it only looks like it's been hosed down, you're probably doing pretty well. So yeah, you can see the water in the footwells here. So, like I said, paintwork's a bit shabby, but you know, nothing that I rub down because you can't sort. What I am going to try and find out is with this Burma Bright, which is the aluminium that these are made out of, is how to kind of deal with the corrosion aspect of it and what sort of treatment you need to put on it. Because obviously with standard rust, you would just use a rust converter and that would kind of be it. You know, you'd prep it, paint it, and it'd be sorted. But I'm not really sure with this aluminium. The tub in the back is probably one of the worst bits, where you see you get this powdery deterioration. So really kind of need to find out what to do with that. In the back here, I've got my step because I need that to reach the engine bay. And you'll notice this black box here, that's the LPG tank. So it has been LPG converted. I don't really like it, to be honest, because I wanted the space in the back, so I'm not sure whether to keep it or not. Obviously it makes running costs far cheaper. And you can see up on the top up here we've got some nice condensation forming, and these side panels have been added, this wood which has got insulation behind it, which I believe is, you know, to try and insulate the tank. If you see down here, we've got sort of your standard household lagging as well. So I want to strip that off. Again, if anyone knows, can you drop in a comment if it needs that insulation, or can the tank be exposed? I'm guessing it's to protect it from the cold. But yeah, I wanted to strip these boards off the side because they're horrible. They're going all mouldy and manky, and because Bob gets wet quite significantly, they don't hold up too well. So if it has to stay, I'll probably put some marine ply in, but I'd rather just get rid of it. The cool stuff in these is you get all these little extra cubby holes to store some bits in. So yeah, that's Bob. Check out this little jack as well. How cool is that? We've got in here we've got the bumperettes, which would go on the rear cross member. NATO tow hitch down here. Just needs a bit of persuasion to be unseized, and just some of the really cool features like this. If you need to change the bulbs, this one's not going to let me. Oh, here we go. You can just undo these like a jar, and then they just go back on. Nice and easy. Bulb changes, I guess for the military, that's what they wanted. Tyres are massive, so the tyres are tubed tyres, which is something I've never dealt with before, so I have to get my head around that. Obviously you can see here that these are significantly perished, starting to show some signs of dry rot, so they'll be coming off at some point. The wheels themselves here would have been NATO green, so I'll rub this back, refurb these steel wheels up so that they go back to NATO green, and that'll look cool. And the plan is for the bodywork as well, is rub it all down and then get it back to the kind of NATO green that's under there. I'd like to do camouflage as well, but we'll see how that goes. Some of the bad bits then on Bob, you'll start to see under here. This outrigger here has got a hole in it. Underneath is generally pretty rusty. It's absolutely caked in underseal. So the challenge has been trying to figure out what's just flaky underseal and what is flaky rust. But you can see it's not too bad. There's a few holes in a couple of the outriggers, so this one particularly, and just up underneath here there's one that supports the fuel tank. This one is quite crusty, and I'm doing some work on the fuel tank at the moment, which I'll take you through in a minute. But overall, the chassis is not too bad, and I think we can definitely save most of it. You can see sort of it's very rusty, but you kind of expect that. So Bob was sat for 14 years. The previous owner bought it with the expectation to do it up and take him on some trips and do some things with him like that, but unfortunately that didn't really turn out. He did come with a huge roof rack, which I'm trying to sell at the moment, so if anyone's after one, it's on Facebook Marketplace, and that's just it's just down here at the minute under this cover. So I'm also cleaning up the carcoon that I had for Oscar, so if anyone's interested in buying that, that's going to be going up as well for about $250, something like that. So it's a big saving on what you'd pay for a new carcoon. But Bob then, so we got him about a mile down the road. His radiator decides to blow, so he ends up getting trailered home. So getting back, put a new radiator in him, took me about 2 weeks, something like that, to get him up and running, just because sort of sourcing a new, it wasn't a new radiator, it was an old one that someone had lying around spare. Sourced the radiator, fitted it over a couple of evenings, got him up and running, took him out to get fuel, brought him back, parked him up. Next day, wake up, he's gone. Someone had nicked him. So 2 guys pulled up in a Beamer, cased him, went away, came back 15 minutes later, got him started, took him away. Luckily, through the help of Facebook, we found him. He was about a mile away up the road. They parked him up, I'm assuming, to see if he's got a tracker on, which he has. Yeah, we managed to go up there. My mate Sol went up because I was at a soft play with the kids at the time when the message came through to say that we'd found it. So he went up, parked behind it, make sure no one could come along and whip him away. And then we brought him back home. And then since, some additional security features have been added, and maybe a few booby traps as well, so keep your hands off him. So yeah, it's been a bit of a drama really, and obviously with Oscar being such a perfect car, I never really had any trouble with him. It started to make me think, oh, have I made the right choice here? But with Bob, like I say, he's gonna be a longer term project. The plan is to learn to weld with Liam's help as well, and we're gonna get him up to a really good standard. It's not gonna be a full resto like you see with stripping him off, new chassis, new bulkhead. The bulkhead is looking a bit iffy. So here, you know, you can see there's some signs of rot in there. We need a new driver's door as well, because the driver's door is, well, let me show you. Let's see if we can capture the wobble on screen. So undo it like this. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that little, all wobbly. And typical place for these to go is along the bottom here, which this one has. You can't properly see it up under there, I don't think, because of the light, but it's fully gone all in this section. And the other place where it's really gone is the footwell. So you can just see up there, there's a nice hole that wasn't that big when we bought it, but through me and Liam poking around, it's definitely got a lot worse. And Liam also just started to help himself at bashing in my door panel. So yeah, cheers for that. But Liam is going to be helping fix this, so it's all good. He can poke holes in whatever he wants at the moment. So inside then we've got just around here, one of the other things that isn't working at the moment. So the reason I haven't taken you out on a drive and, you know, shown you in a more scenic location is that we've got the fuel tanks both leak on both sides. So I thought the driver's side one was okay, but that started leaking after fueling up. So to access the tank, try and do this one-handed. We lift out the wet driver's seat, because everything is wet in a Land Rover apparently, and remove this cover. And Bob's your uncle, we've got the fuel tank. So the sender's just, get an angle, the sender's just here. This is then the fuel feeder pipe, which is disconnected at the moment because I'm in the process of dropping this tank. And we've then got the tank itself, which you can release a pipe then that comes up and allows you to fill it. So quite good, quite a handy system. Oh, it smells lovely. I did put a little bit in because I had to move him on the drive, whereas I had drained the tank in its entirety. So yeah, well, that is the next job. So like I say, I would have taken him somewhere, even with the fuel tank leaking. I was going to just take him for a little run down a country lane. There's a couple really close, so just park up down there and do a nice scenic video for you guys of unveiling Bob. But there's that many jobs cropping up on him. One, I don't really have the time, and I really want to crack on with filming some of the jobs I'm doing, so I needed to get this one out. And two, the brake cylinder on the passenger side front decided just to, I don't really know, just relieve itself of brake fluid, and yeah, it was all over the road the other day. So bring it up here, get a new cylinder. I'll probably replace all the cylinders actually all the way around. Hopefully not with shit part. I mean Brit part. And yeah, that'll be done. So once the brakes are done and I've got this fuel tank sorted, my plan is just to use some Petro putty, which is like an epoxy, stick that on there, because I think it's the seams that are leaking. So put that in the seams and hopefully that'll sort it, because these military fuel tanks are about 200 quid a piece and there's two of them both leaking. So hoping I can get at least one to a standard where it can be used, and if I have to, I'll buy another tank if one of them isn't salvageable, but I'd rather not. I won't buy two, let's put it that way. I'm not spending 400 quid on fuel tanks. So if I have to get one, I have to get one, but not two. What else have we got on this guy? So most of the gauges are working, which is pretty cool. This switch I need to have a look at, and I need to get my multimeter on it to see if we've actually got power going through to it. So the thing it is missing is when you're driving at night, there's no dash lights, which is unfortunate because you can't see what you're doing. So when I have been running it in the evenings, like when I went and got petrol the night before it got nicked, I just whacked a torch on the dash. But the problem is, because most of it's aluminium, magnets don't work, so you can't stick anything to it. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. But let's go and have a look under the hood. Oh, I've got a fly on my bro. Where's the flies around this time of year? So like I said, this has got the 2.25 petrol. Really nice engine actually, and one of the things when we did purchase it, whilst there's a few things we missed as we were kind of going around and looking at it and kind of deciding whether we should buy it, so both me and Liam went to see it, was just kind of how sweet the engine was running. So since I've had him, obviously the new rad's gone in, so we've got new hoses top and bottom, new fixtures and fittings on there, so that's all good. While I was in there as well, just the expansion tank holder was getting a bit rusty, so that's all been hammerited. So as much as I'm not that big a fan of hammeriting the engine bays, that's been done. What we did notice is that when we bought him and he broke down a mile down the road, the main issue was the rad, so he'd overheated, but the other thing was the cab was filling up with smoke and we couldn't kind of put two and two together. And what was actually happening is the blower motor down here is seized, so or the fan, sorry, is seized. The motor was spinning, so the motor was trying to turn, causing lots of smoke, which was coming up into the cab, and it stank. It was not a pleasant smell at all. So we've disconnected the blower motor now, so that's going to have to get sorted. Like I said, the other issue we've got is that the brake cylinder has decided to give way, so that's going to have to get fixed. You can see now the fluid is well down since that went, so it's gone down below the minimum. But overall in here, you know, it's not too bad, it's not too rusty. So inside this wing, we need a new upper mud shield, we need the new mud shield for the steering box, and you can kind of just see down in the crevices, the holes going through into the interior compartment. So again, that needs sorting. But overall, being a military engine, you can see down here, these FFR vehicles, it has a shielded ignition system. So this box up here, I believe, is something to do with the shielded system. We've got a shielded coil, shielded dizzy down in here, you just see it down in there, and shielded plugs, which is just so cool. Like everything, growing up, I loved like military stuff. Mum and Dad would always take me to like surplus army stores and stuff where I could get some army kit. I know it's a bit sad, but growing up, you know, it's just, you think it's cool. I never had the opportunity to go into the military because I've got type 1 diabetes, but just being able to own a military vehicle just feels so special and cool, and I'm really looking forward to trying to get Bob back to a really nice standard, get him sorted paintwork wise, because this green that they've put on him is just a bit grim. You can see like the 10 coats of NATO paint have probably stayed pretty good underneath, but whoever did the top coat didn't do a great job. I think they've added these little alloy fins as well for a bit of protection around the doors, because obviously the doors, when they shut, don't really shut, which, you know, standard Land Rover, I believe. Nice mirrors again, all need a good coat of paint and refurbing. I'm a bit worried about the bulkhead, in honesty. You know, all of this behind the vents is a bit crusty, and I can't afford to replace it. It's just a little bit too much at the moment. So what I'm hoping is we can repair that bulkhead as best as possible, keep it going for a couple of years, same with the chassis, and then at some point, hopefully keep Bob running until that point, maybe a new bulkhead and a new chassis at some point. Chassis really scares me in terms of the level of work that will be required for that, because I don't have that sort of amount of time, not with the young kids, but I think, you know, I'm pretty sure we can keep him running. He's not that bad. The roof is the bit that makes him look the tattiest, so if you guys could probably get a good view of that up there, but there's like just layers and layers of sealant, mastic, paint. What I'm trying to figure out is, I don't think, if we look here, we've got this green that's the top coat. We've then got like a NATO green, and then underneath that looks like potentially another different green. Although that feels really nice, that does. That feels like it's probably, that might be the original paint under there. So maybe this was on him. I was trying to work out if this would have been a hard top or if it would have been a soft top. If anyone knows Land Rovers, you know, it'd be interesting to get your opinion on it. So yeah, there's multiple layers of paint on this, and then same with the roof. So the roof looks like it's gone limestone, then military green, then another green maybe, or it might just be deterioration, but there's definitely limestone, green, and then limestone again, where I think someone's tried to make it look more country than military. So yeah, it'd be interesting. The back door isn't standard. You can see here that there's blue in there quite easily there. So we'll take that off and get that rubbed down. But yeah, I'm just really looking forward to kind of getting started on this now. And a couple of people have said to me on Facebook and stuff, you just gotta pace yourself, not go too wild with it, because you know, I don't have the money just to throw at this thing, but it is very tempting just to go out and start buying loads of bits and get stuff sorted. I'll put a picture in of what the roof rack looked like on the top, but as you can see from down here, it was quite a significant size, obviously, to go across. Full length, comes down, but I want to take it back to looking more military, and obviously that wouldn't have been on a military spec Land Rover, so hopefully that can go to someone that's looking to make a bit of a overlander or expedition vehicle or something, which would be nice for it to get used properly. The other little problem that he had when I first got him, which was I sorted the night before he was taken from me, is this brake switch. Now, these are notoriously unreliable. Essentially, you screw this in and there's a little squidgy bit on the end which then detects the brake pedal movement. So this, I think, was just screwed in far too much and the brake pedal was just mashing it. Although the brake lights weren't on all the time, which would be the symptom of that, so I'm not really sure. I think it's probably intermittent, and I'm probably going to try and get a Lucas one to replace it anyway, but for now there's bigger things to sort of fix. But I adjusted it, got it nice, got it out, cleaned it up, put it back in, adjusted it to the correct setting so that the brake lights weren't always on. So I basically wound it in all the way so the brake lights were on, and then slowly adjusted it off until we got to the point where the brake lights weren't on all the time, and you press the pedal and you get a consistent light coming on. So there's been a few things that I've learned already on this car. I'm really excited just to get around it. There was one other thing. If we do have any Land Rover specialists on here, that I don't think is right on this car, and that is, oh, hang on, sorry. So this bit here, there's a spring on the accelerator linkage, and I don't think this is right. I think this should be different. So I noticed there's hesitation when trying to start the engine, and I think it's as a result of this spring taking time to actually trigger. So I need to have a look at that. I don't think that's standard, and you can see kind of how it's wound on back here. It just looks dodgy and a bit naff. I don't think that's how it should be. I think there should be a bar probably between that. But yeah, if any of you guys know your Land Rovers, it'd be really good just to get a bit of feedback on that. Why don't we see if we can just get him started and have a look. So that's off choke, so he's not on choke at the moment, and yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm really impressed with him. This is my only issue, is see when you press the accelerator, it dips. You have to really give it some to actually get him to accelerate. I'm not sure on this spring. I'm not convinced. It sounds like the idle's probably running a little bit high. Obviously, there's very little fuel in him. There we go. See that? That's why he's idling so fast. That's not returning right. So it's running like that there. So where's the choke? Come in. The choke's here. So choke's off. This is just that link there isn't fully reset. Then you get a really nice quiet idle then. So lots of fine tuning to do, but it's nothing that we can't sort. Obviously there's some other bits that need to do first. So you need to get the brakes sorted, get the fuel tank done, and then we can start having a look at the fine tune on the engine, just so that when he's running nice and sweet. But you can hear now he's ticking over lovely. You know, that is just so sweet. And like I say, when you turn over to LPG as well, it's running really nicely. It ticks over lovely. You just have to give it a bit of revs when you first switch it over. Once it heats up and gets up to speed, it's perfect. You might notice that here as well on the bonnet, they've cut this section out and put this weird cap on. So when the wheel sits onto the bonnet, it sits wonky, which looks a bit odd. But that's because of the LPG conversion. They've had to raise this breather pipe a little bit that comes from the air filter. This section here, so that that goes up into that area there, which is a bit of a shame really, which is another reason it makes me feel like I want to take the LPG out, because I just don't like it looking like that. But we might be able to put some sort of risers on the spare wheel cover so that it lifts it, and then we don't have to worry about that hump so much, and the wheel sits flat, because it really bothers me that it sits wonky. But yeah, so this is Bob. He's going to feature on the channel a lot more going forward. You won't be seeing Oscar anymore, which I'm really sorry about. I know there's a lot of A40 owners out there, and I've absolutely loved ownership of Oscar, but it was time for me to kind of move on, explore, and get to know some other classic cars that I've always kind of dreamed about owning, and Bob being a military vehicle fits the bill perfectly for me. So yep, we'll get to work. So next few videos coming up from me are probably going to be sorting out that fuel tank, sorting out the brakes. And I'm really lucky that just down the road from me I've got a Land Rover supplier that has all the parts for series Land Rovers, called John Craddock. So it's fantastic. So thanks for watching, guys. If you're enjoying the content, do subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.